So it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this second annual Forum on the Future of Aging, sponsored by Somerville-Cambridge Elder Services. I'm Leslie Hergert. I'm the president of the board, and that's my privilege to be here to welcome you in that capacity. I'm honored to join you all today. I'm excited that so many of you who were here last year came back, and to see all the new faces and people who are here. So welcome. This will be an exciting opportunity to hear from local and national leaders at the forefront of aligning health and social care to create lasting change. And I think the future of serving elders really is this kind of intersectional partnership. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that with you and hearing about ways to do that. The speakers and panelists embody the heart of SES mission to ensure that everyone can live with dignity and independence in the setting of their choice. Before we begin today's programming, it's my honor to express the organization's gratitude to many people and groups, so I'll get started. First, to the SES Board of Directors, many of whom are here. Thank you for your dedication to the continued success of SES and for charting a bold path forward with MARTA for the agency. I'd like to thank the many SES staff members and volunteers for the tireless work they put in to securing this wonderful venue. It's very exciting. And all the days, months filled with many details and logistics that they put together. Your tireless efforts are a testament to your deep and unwavering commitment to the mission of our organization. Thank you also to, and especially to today's sponsors, who share in our commitment and gave generously so that we could make this forum a reality for the second year in a row. We extend heartfelt appreciation to two exceptional sponsors who went above and beyond to contribute to this event, City Fresh Foods and United Health Medicare Solutions. Thank you for your generous support. We also express deep gratitude to our sponsors, Right at Home Boston and Maine, Commonwealth Care Alliance, East Cambridge Savings Bank, Eastern Bank, and Guardian Healthcare. Your partnership has been critical to ensuring this event could come to fruition. And with your support, the community comes into the room and indicates community support for the work of supporting elders in their communities. Finally, we'd like to thank the Boston University staff who've helped us from the beginning to plan this event and to implement it. And we think you will find that they have done an excellent job with meals, tech support, and other kinds of space. It's my honor and pleasure now to introduce our CEO, Marta Corvello. Marta holds over 20 years of experience in the healthcare and nonprofit sectors. For those of you who don't know her, which may not be very many people in this room. Her career is marked by a profound commitment to reducing disparities across the care continuum, particularly in marginalized and underserved communities. Since joining SES just a little over 2 years ago, Marta has continued to elevate the agency's reputation for clinical excellence and innovative collaboration. And I think you are here in part to demonstrate that partnership. Many of you are partners in our work. In 2022, she launched the Community Support Center, which offers free, unbiased guidance to older adults, individuals with disabilities, caregivers, and professionals. In 2023, she instituted SES's Clinical Integration Department to best address clients' complex medical and behavioral needs. And under her leadership, SES has also significantly progressed in advancing our diversity initiatives. Marta's work has strengthened the agency's community presence, expanded partnerships, and advanced efforts to address social and health disparities. Please help me in welcoming Marta to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, this is so exciting. Welcome to our second annual Future of Aging Forum here at the beautiful Boston University Metcalf Trustee Center. I'm Marta Corvello. I am the CEO of Somerville-Cambridge Elder Services, and I've had the honor and privilege of leading our organization for the last 2.5 years. Much like Leslie, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for each of you for joining today, for our sponsors, our volunteers. Your presence here today really reflects our shared commitment to shaping a brighter future for aging in our communities. As we gather to celebrate our second annual forum, I would be remiss if we did not acknowledge and recognize Ageism Awareness Day, which is today, and took the opportunity to reflect on the profound impact of ageism. It's not just a social issue, it's a public health crisis. A 2020 Yale School of Public Health study revealed that discrimination against older adults, alongside negative age stereotypes and self-perceptions, cost our healthcare system an astounding $63 billion annually, and reduces lifespans by up to 7.5 years. Yet ageism is just one of the many social determinants of health that affect older adults. At the core of our work at SCES, we continue to address the broader social drivers of health, factors like economic stability, housing security, and food access, which profoundly impact and shape the aging experience. At SCES, we are not simply discussing the future of aging, we are determined to shape it. Our vision is a world where communities prioritize the needs of older adults and actively dismantle the systemic barriers that fuel health disparities and inequities as people age. We share this mission today, and your presence underscores your commitment to this cause. Together, we have the opportunity and the responsibility to make a tangible impact. Your role in this effort is so critical, and we are deeply grateful for your engagement and commitment. At last year's inaugural forum, we celebrated 50 years of service, and those 50 years of services were really rooted in 3 core principles: supporting independence, fostering community, and advancing dignity, not only for older adults, but for all. We stand on the shoulders of our founders and community advocates who recognize the vital importance of aging in place, surrounded by community. As our aging population evolves, so must our approach. Last year's event was pivotal in ushering SCES into a new era of innovation and disruption. This year, we continue to build on last year's critical discussions, focusing on the transformative power of aligning social and healthcare. We believe this integration has the potential to drive meaningful progress towards health equity, breaking down barriers that have long stood in the way of equitable care. This alignment isn't just an ideal, it's a beacon of hope in our mission to shape a better, more just future for aging. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to our distinguished public officials for joining us today. Acting Secretary Robin Lipson, Secretary Ed Augustus, whom will join us momentarily, Senator Pat Jalen, Representative Steve Owens, Representative Kate Lipper-Garabedian, Representative Tom Stanley, and Somerville City Councilor Willie Burnley Jr. Thank you so much for your support. I would also like to take a moment to thank our generous sponsors for their invaluable support. This event would have not been made possible without your belief in our mission and all the work that we do. And continue the conversations we started last year were really important to us at SCES. And your sponsorships and contributions have made this event accessible for so many. Your support not only facilitates these discussions, but also fosters future cross-sectoral collaborations that are essential for driving meaningful change. We look forward to strengthening our partnerships in years to come, and thank you for your commitment to our shared vision and to all of your support. I am also very honored to welcome our keynote, Dr. Rishi Mashanda, today. Rishi is a catalyst in the upstream movement, which challenges us to focus on the root causes of illness, not just the symptoms. He understands that medical care without the necessary social supports fails both patients and the institutions designed to serve them. We are not just isolated fragments of a complex system. We are partners. As upstreamists, we can no longer afford to stay siloed as we care for our populations. Today's panels will highlight the profound connectedness of our work. The expertise we each bring is not just valuable, it's essential. Yet, at the heart of our mission are our clients, patients, and the dedicated staff who support them. They are our motivation, and their needs must remain central to everything we strive for. At SCES, we see firsthand the critical importance of aligning social and healthcare, and we firmly believe that key to addressing the upstream drivers of health requires urgent investment, and I stress urgent investment, in community-based services, where the demands are at the highest, wait lists are often the longest, and staff are paid the least. Yet the important role that CBOs play in the ecosystem of healthcare is still not well understood, and we hope to continue to change that with having such important forums and discussions such as today. So let me take a moment to share a compelling story with you today about Sam, a wonderful older adult that was referred to us through our hospital-to-home program with Cambridge Health Alliance. Our hospital liaison met with Sam while he was still admitted in the hospital to help coordinate the necessary supports and interventions to safely discharge him to a home setting. Upon reviewing Sam's electronic medical record, she noticed that not only did he have significant complex medical conditions, but his wife had recently passed, and she immediately suspected that he was not receiving the necessary supports at home. Surely enough, when our staff member visited his home, which is part of the work that we do with the hospital-to-home program, she noticed that the fridge was empty, the cupboards were empty, several of Sam's bottles were empty, and there were piles of overdue bills sitting on the kitchen table, including an eviction notice. It turns out that Sam's wife ran the household and had done so for several decades and managed their finances, and he had become so dependent on her that he could no longer cope after she passed and manage his bills and his life. He had stopped paying rent since he could not return to his job at a grocery store due to his medical conditions worsening, and his landlord had begun the legal eviction process. Our team acted swiftly by enrolling Sam into our state home care program, which supported him in receiving daily medically tailored home-delivered meals. He was also assigned homemaking, laundry, and case management through our home care team. We connected him with our protective services team and a caseworker who worked with an interdisciplinary team and our medical legal services to stop the eviction process. And finally, Sam was connected to our in-home behavioral health program to support him in processing the loss of his wife and to help him to start building the necessary skills to live independently into the future. Sam's case is one of many we see daily, not only at SCES, but across the Aging Services Network in Massachusetts. Sam's case illustrates the importance of the alignment of social care across the care continuum to adequately address the underlying issues that manifest well beyond the exam room and lead to poor health outcomes. It's crucial that we continue to advocate for investment in community services like these, particularly as demand increases. Patients face barriers that extend well beyond the healthcare walls and the healthcare system. And it's more critical than ever to build a more integrative and supportive system, ensuring that people like Sam receive the comprehensive care they deserve. This necessitates innovation, coordination, and sustained, robust funding of services and supports. And I remain hopeful that together we possess the knowledge, creativity, and the passion to prioritize dignity in aging. Today's discussions will help us chart a course forward where the future of social and healthcare are fully integrated. Imagine a system where we proactively address and support older adults valuing food, housing, education, and economic justice, just as essential components of health. This is the vision we aspire to achieve, and there's a lot of power in this room, so together, let's turn that vision into a reality. I'm now thrilled to introduce a very dear colleague and an incredible advocate of our work, vision, and mission, Acting Secretary of the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, Robin Lipson. Since joining EOEA in 2015, Acting Secretary Lipson has been a driving force in transforming communities across Massachusetts. Under her leadership, more than 200 cities and towns have officially committed to becoming age and dementia friendly, creating environments that are inclusive and supportive for individuals of all ages. Her dedication to fostering community, connection, and personal choice has profoundly impacted the lives of our aging population. Acting Secretary Lipson leads initiatives that empower our older neighbors to thrive, ensuring they receive the resources and support they need to live fulfilling and healthy lives. We're truly honored to have her here with us today, and please join me in welcoming Acting Secretary Lipson to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. That was lovely. Good morning, everyone. It is awesome to see so many people who I have known seemingly forever, but who I haven't seen in person for years, as well as to meet new folks. And just the combination of people's backgrounds, expertise, and energy is I think, what makes this such a wonderful day. So Marta, thank you so much for inviting me here today. And to you and your entire team at Somerville-Cambridge Elder Services, thank you for creating this dedicated moment and gathering us in this beautiful space to think about the future of aging. And I have a little aside about this space, which is I did my graduate work next door at the business school, and I was never in a space like this when I was paying tuition. Nor did I have anybody escort me up in the elevator. So this is just really lovely and a very special way to spend our time today. And thank you, Marta, for telling the story about Sam. Honestly, I could do something dramatic like rip up my remarks, because that story you just told, I think, captures it all. It's what this is all about. It's what many of you do. And it's about making sure that everybody understands how intricate and complex all of this is, and that it's not about one actor, one organization, one player, one provider. It's really about a system being able to look at someone's whole needs, meet them where they are, and help them move forward. So I'm going to start by saying something that you all know a lot about, which is the demographic picture in front of us. In Massachusetts, many cities and towns are seeing that more than 25% of their population is over the age of 60. And that's right now, and it's only going to grow. And while the sheer numbers give us a lot to think about, it's the complexity and diversity within this 5-decade cohort, which includes people who are in their 60s up to people who are in their centenarian years. And it's that complexity in that cohort that should really drive our thinking. In this 5-decade span, you have people who are working full-time or part-time, and many who are retired. Some are still raising children or grandchildren. A large number are engaged in caregiving for others. Some live with disability, and others manage a number of chronic health conditions. Some were born in this country, many were not. Some are fortunate enough to be surrounded by family and friends, and others are alone. And I could go on and on and on about the richly diverse attributes of this cohort. But suffice it to say, the needs of our older adults are more diverse and more complex than ever before. We're not just looking at the physical health of our aging population, but we're also looking at the behavioral, social, and financial supports that are needed to age with dignity and independence. The infinite variety and diversity should be a call to action for all of us to rethink how we support older adults and the kinds of investments we make upstream. And you'll obviously be hearing a little bit more about that during the keynote. And while the growing number of older adults in our communities reflects the remarkable success of healthcare advances and healthier lifestyles, it also presents us with both challenges and opportunities. There is a demand for culturally relevant and culturally specific programs and spaces. And as we welcome more older adults, we must ensure they have access to the services and support they need to age optimally and thrive in whatever community they choose. And that's our North Star and our guiding principle at the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. Not a small job, but what helps us move forward is that we focus first on communities and the people who live there. What communities think and need is what really matters the most. It's at our core. And I like to think our work is from the community up, not mandated from a state agency on down to the local level. And taking the principle of community to heart, over the last several months, our agency has been out in community hosting a series of listening sessions to better understand what older adults and their partners are looking for to make Massachusetts more age and dementia friendly. The information we gathered will help guide our state's refreshed age and dementia friendly action plan, which will coordinate statewide efforts to create a welcoming and more livable Commonwealth for residents of all ages. And with the extraordinary help of several partners in this room, our office co-hosted a series of 9 in-person and virtual listening sessions. Wanting to ensure we incorporated as many diverse voices as possible, we held sessions in English and also in Spanish. We offered live translation in several languages, including American Sign Language. And to date, we've had over 600 people attend these sessions, and several hundreds more share input with us through our online survey. In these sessions, we heard new insights and uncovered new opportunities to meet the challenges of the future and discussed ideas and policies to support people to age well in their communities. And while we're still compiling this feedback, I'd like to give you a preview of a half-dozen themes we heard that I think you'll find interesting. The first is economic stability. Older adults contribute significantly to our economy as workers, caregivers, and volunteers. Their experience and wisdom are assets in our communities, but many are facing financial challenges. With the rising cost of living and static fixed incomes, we must advocate for policies that ensure economic stability for our aging population, including support for caregivers who often sacrifice their own work, their own income, and their own well-being for others. Housing is another crucial element, and obviously that goes hand in hand with economic stability. Many older adults wish to age in place in familiar surroundings. We have to prioritize the development of age-friendly housing options and accessible communities that allow our residents to live independently and safely. And I know Secretary Augustus will have more to say about that in a few minutes. Third is social isolation. It's a growing concern and one that people readily articulate following the pandemic. It's imperative that we foster environments where residents can connect with one another. Community centers, multi-generational programs, and local events can all play a role in keeping older adults engaged and connected. The fourth theme that we heard about is digital equity. Older adults are telling us that their everyday tasks require digital literacy, and they need support to make that a reality. We must continue to expand access to technology, to connectivity, and peer-to-peer and other kinds of learning supports and programs for them. We also heard a lot about the environment, especially the impact of extreme climate events and heat on older adults, and the impact on noise on their quality of life. And finally, the number one topic that came through on our online survey was about caregiving. Family caregivers are asking us for more support. Specifically, they're looking for respite opportunities, access to adult day programs, and policy development to help employers understand how they can better support their employees who are also family caregivers. So again, that's just a preview of what we heard, and we'll continue to compile all the information from the sessions. Once all the input is compiled, we will update our Age and Dementia Friendly Action Plan, which will help guide the work for our Commonwealth for the next 5 to 10 years. But a plan is only a tool, and it's only as good as the people, communities, and organizations who are committed to following through on it. We have one of the most innovative and strongest aging services networks in the country. Combined, your holistic understanding of aging services as a system of interconnected actors and policies, and your commitment to advancing quality, innovation, and inclusivity will help ensure that every older adult in Massachusetts can age with dignity, respect, and the support that they need. So let's embrace this responsibility and commit to creating a future where every older adult can age optimally and is valued, supported, and empowered. Thank you.
I am now honored to introduce our next guest, who has been quite busy in recent weeks, and we're so appreciative to have him with us today. Ed Augustus, the Secretary of the Office of Housing and Livable Communities. Secretary Augustus has dedicated over 35 years to public service. His experienced, results-driven executive known for his ability to build effective teams and unite people to create a positive impact on communities. In his role as Secretary of the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, he leads the state's mission to increase housing availability and reduce costs for its residents. His office is responsible for distributing funding to community development initiatives, overseeing public housing, and managing homelessness prevention and housing stabilization programs. I am so thrilled to have Secretary Augustus with us today. Please join me in welcoming him. Thank you.
Well, good morning, and thank you for that kind introduction. It's great to be here with Acting Secretary Lipson, and I really appreciate the collaboration with her office and her team and the work that we jointly do to support our seniors here in Massachusetts. I appreciate the opportunity to come and share a few thoughts with you on some of the work that we're doing around housing here in Massachusetts, and particularly the housing needs of our senior population. The Healy-Driscoll administration is all in on housing. We know that this is a crisis. It manifests itself in so many different ways across the state. If we look at the emergency assistance shelter system, with nearly 7,500 families in that system, that's an indication of the crisis and how long folks stay in that system because of the lack of appropriate housing for them to move from shelter into a permanent home. The increase in individual homelessness that we're seeing across Massachusetts. And the biggest growth of individual homelessness are senior citizens. That is directly related to the cost of housing and the availability of housing. The challenge of losing our naturally occurring affordable housing, where many seniors have been renting for a long time. They've had a landlord who has had stable tenants and keeps the rents stable so that it works for both sides. And then the property changes hands, and somebody else comes in and purchases that property and says, oh my gosh, you're only charging $1,100. You could get $1,800 for that. And the 75 or 80-year-old person or couple who live there on a fixed income cannot absorb that kind of increase. And now we see them couch surfing, living in their car, or ultimately ending up into one of our individual homeless shelters. That shouldn't happen in a place like Massachusetts. That's unacceptable. And that's why this administration has really leaned into the whole notion that we need to create more housing of all types in all areas of the state to take the pressure off the housing ecosystem. The power dynamic in the housing ecosystem is upside down. Just like in any kind of supply-demand situation, all the power goes to whatever is in strong demand and short supply. So if you or your family, maybe you have a child that's trying to purchase their first home, you've probably heard stories about people going to an open house along with 30 or 40 other people, making over-asking offers on that property, waiving home inspections, other things that aren't always in their best interest, but so desperate to have the opportunity to purchase a home in the community that they want to live in or proximate to where their work or their kids' school is. And the same thing on the rental side. The challenge for folks, particularly folks with kids or folks on fixed incomes who want to be in a particular place. You know, I see this all the time across the state, seniors who want to stay in the community that they're in. Their whole life is there. Their faith-based community is there. Their family and friends are there. They want to downsize. They need to downsize in many cases. There's just nowhere to downsize to and be able to stay in that community that they've made their whole life. And so some of the things that we've proposed in the Affordable Homes Act, I think, are going to be very helpful in creating a more balanced power dynamic in the housing ecosystem. So that if somebody's asking for a crazy rent here, there's 2 or 3 more options down the street that you can choose from, and that'll bring some of those rents down. Or there are more ownership opportunities, so people are asking appropriate amounts for these properties, and you don't see this unbelievable escalation in cost that are really forcing people into either unsecure housing situations or forcing folks to become unhoused. So the Affordable Homes Act is the largest housing piece of legislation in the history of the Commonwealth. It's $5.16 billion of authorizations. It really runs the gamut in terms of all of the key tools that we use to create affordable housing, things like our Affordable Housing Trust Fund, one of our most flexible subsidies that we use to buy affordability in the creation of new units. Our public housing, Massachusetts is blessed to have 43,000 units of state-owned public housing, by far more than any other state in the country. There's only 3 other states that have any state-owned public housing, and nobody has nearly the size portfolio Massachusetts has. That's to our credit. The challenge is a lot of that housing came online as post-World War II housing that was built for returning veterans. So it's 75 and 80 years old and has not, in many cases, had the kind of substantial and necessary capital improvements and upgrades. Certainly not the kind of improvements necessary to allow folks to age in place. I've committed to visiting every housing authority in the state. I've been to 72 so far, from one corner of the state to the other. I scratch my head sometimes when I go to a public housing campus that's supposed to be for elderly disabled, and it's 2 stories, but there are no elevators. I'm like, what were folks thinking? And so that's a lot of the legacy that we're dealing with. And job one this administration and to our partners in the legislature who provided all of these resources that are in the Affordable Homes Act is to make sure that we save every unit of housing that we have. So those 43,000 units of state-owned public housing, much of which provides essential housing for our seniors, that is strategically distributed in 230 cities and towns around the state. We have to keep it online. But we also have to make it healthier, we have to make it more dignified, and we have to make it more accessible. And so some of the things that we're going to be able to do with this $2 billion that was in the bill for capital improvements to our public housing is to make sure that we can provide more accessibility. One of the things we want to see is as we turn units over, how do we make basic accessibility improvements right at the time of the turnover? Even if the person moving into that doesn't need all of those accessibilities at that moment, we're facilitating the ability to age in place because we've done the tub cut or the shower or the grab bars or some of the other basic changes that will be more cost effective and less disruptive to do at the time of the turnover of those units. And we turn over about 3,000 units every year. So we could make a pretty good dent if we institute that policy with some of the new resources we have, and that's one of the things that we're committed to doing. In addition to all of those dollars and authorizations of capital expenses, there are 49 policy changes that were a part of that piece of legislation. Unbelievable set of tools that run the gamut from creating the first Office of Fair Housing within our new Secretariat to make sure that everybody in Massachusetts knows what their rights and obligations are around the Fair Housing Act, and that we really educate people to make sure that we have the rules of the housing ecosystem chalked out and people know what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to be handling various situations within the housing ecosystem. Accessory dwelling units, probably one of the more consequential policy changes that were in that bill. Historically, this was left to the 351 cities and towns. Some embraced the idea of accessory dwelling units and made it relatively easy. Many communities put lots of barriers or obstacles, special permits, all sorts of hoops to jump through that made it very unattractive for somebody to start that process to create a unit that might be possible above their garage or out in their backyard or converting a walkout basement or an attic into a unit that might be able to be an accessory dwelling unit. So again, with this legislation, we've wiped away all of those local restrictions. The one restriction that cities and towns can place on those ADUs is if they want to ban short-term rentals. The goal wasn't to create more Airbnbs around Massachusetts. The goal was to create more housing units, more options. And it's a very, I think, good way to gently add density throughout Massachusetts. These aren't single-family lots. People will choose. Not every property owner is going to think it makes sense for them or an option they want to take advantage of. But every couple of streets, you'll see people doing this all across the state. That provides those options within those communities that I mentioned earlier that seniors are looking for, but to stay in their community. That a 750 or 800 square foot efficiency apartment might be perfect. In some cases, it may be a family member. Some cases, maybe it won't. Maybe it's somebody who's in their church or somebody they've known from town that creates that opportunity and helps that property owner because now they're bringing in a little income. So that if you're a senior and you want to stay in your home longer, but you are on that fixed income, maybe there's a way to bring in some additional income. I'm getting that my time is up. And I'm just getting started because there's a lot in this bill. But I would just let you all know that this administration, in partnership with the legislature, have really prioritized the issue of housing. We are tackling it with the policy changes and the dollars that I talked about in the Affordable Homes Act. There were additions to our low-income housing tax credits. They went from $40 million a year to $60 million a year. That was done by the legislature last summer. And we have the first statewide housing plan that we have done 14 listening sessions around the state. That plan is due to the governor at the end of the year. That plan will lay out housing production goals by region and by demographic needs. So we think about housing as life cycle housing. What is the different types of housing we need for the different phases of life? We want people to be able to do every phase of life here in Massachusetts and not force them to leave the state at a particular juncture in their life because there's no appropriate place for them to live. And we need a plan to get there, and we're creating that plan. Lastly, and I'm going to get the hook here, lastly, legislature created at the governor's recommendation a couple of commissions that are going to start work at the beginning of the year. One is on senior housing needs. So I would urge you all to pay attention to that, participate in that. We'll be doing hearings and kind of ways for the public to weigh in on that. And that is an opportunity to really kind of suss out what are all the things that we need to do to support our aging population. We know supportive services is a big piece of that. I've had a chance to visit with Cambridge, Somerville Elder Services. A couple weeks ago, we went to some public housing in Cambridge and saw firsthand, talked to the tenants, had an opportunity to see what a difference that makes. I've been to Two Life's facility at J.J. Brown in Brighton, saw firsthand the amazing way that folks on very limited incomes can have affordable, decent places to live and all of the services they need to not just live, but to thrive, to enjoy life, to be socialized, to stay healthy, to stay intellectually engaged. That's what we deserve. That's what our seniors in Massachusetts deserve. That's what together we can do with some of these new tools and with the work of the commission. So I appreciate the opportunity to come today and share a little bit with you about that, and just really urge you to stay plugged in with our ongoing efforts as we try to reimagine our housing ecosystem here in Massachusetts. Thanks very much.